Welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or if you're watching on our YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me, as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, we're here for the fifth installment of our Carolina football ISO series that we've been kind of rolling out throughout the offseason. So, as you guys can tell by the title, going to be talking about a veteran linebacker in this one in Jeremiah Gemmel. But before we do that, the promo that we had early in April did very well, and we're just continuing to blast it. $8.33 a month. You can head over to our site, TarHeelIllustrated.com. You get access to our premium boards, access to our premium content. I know you've probably hear us say this a lot if you're a consistent listener on our YouTube channel, but a lot of stuff that we put on the boards, we do not roll out in the front. As you guys know as well, we go where the Tar Heels go. So anything from live game threads, I know a couple months ago with the transfer portal going on, that was a big point of emphasis. Recruiting in there as well. AJ's on the board. Yeah, it's 24/7, 365 days a year, especially with the recruiting side of things. So definitely head on over to our site. Click the description below. You'll find a link in there, and you can go check us out and sign up for just $8.33 a month. And trust me when I say it, if you're a diehard Carolina fan, a big Carolina fan, it's definitely worth it. So AJ, let's dive into this one, man. Jeremiah Gemmel, we were talking a little bit off camera. I know he's, one of your favorite players to talk to in terms of a media perspective because of what he offers and how he talks and just how knowledgeable he is, not only about the game of football, but just X's and O's wise. When he definitely is a guy that sounds like a future coach. But looking at his role on this team, he's obviously had a big role over the past two seasons, especially really since Mac Brown arrived playing alongside Chaz Surratt. Has been called kind of the quarterback on that defense in terms of what he does, calling out the plays, kind of his leadership abilities as well. And that's something I can definitely vouch for, especially, with the access that I've had to shoot games, obviously not during the COVID year, but previously, and be down on the field level. He's a guy that's extremely active and is a really loud talker down there and just a big voice, not only in the linebacker room, but for the defense as a whole. But there's so many things and so many directions we can go with Jeremiah Gemmel, but what are your just overall thoughts on Gemmel? Because like I said, I know he's a guy you really enjoy talking to and like covering especially.
I think he's a spokesman of the team.
I would agree. Mm-hmm.
And Sam is, I think Tamon Fox is. They have multiple guys that can handle that role, but I think Jeremiah, his ability to and his interest in going well below the surface on stuff is one of the things I really enjoy.
It's fascinating too, really, some of the stuff.
Well, I learned something from him. Every once in a while, we did a video about Ty Chandler, and I was talking about, some of the different things the defensive lines do. He could pick that up, in pass protection. I didn't want to get all football lingo. I don't know all the football lingo. It does change over time.
Yeah.
The terminology we use when I played in high school 4,700 years ago is not the same terminology they use now for the most part. He uses terminology, and I will often find myself looking it up to either make sure I know what it means or it's a new one and I'm learning. So every time we get Jeremiah Gemmel, AJ's football knowledge goes up because I learned something, because I look stuff up and or if I think I have an idea what he's talking about, I go look it up and I watch videos and I read stuff, and I really enjoy the studious aspect of this sport.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Obviously, he does too. And so we had him, last week of spring practice, and asked him about if he wants to be a coach at some point. And I remember Dina asked Mac about maybe Jeremiah being a coach, and he just knows what everybody in the field is supposed to do. And he doesn't know it just because he wants to be a coach. He knows it because he wants to be the best quarterback of the defense he can be. He can't talk to a guy about his role, whether it's to encourage, whether to correct, whether it's in pre-snap where he's changing something. If he doesn't know what each guy's supposed to do, he's not going to be as effective doing that. And while I think that he's a really good player, and I think he's a sideline-to-sideline middle linebacker, and Max says he's going to be drafted and going to play in the NFL, and NFL scouts that were there at Pro Day to watch Diami and Daz and Chaz and those and Michael and Javante they all asked about Jeremiah, and they say Jeremiah's going to be one of those guys in 2022. But to me, it's how he sees the game. It's how he thinks the game. It's how he anticipates the game that makes him so good. And he makes other guys better as a result because he's such an excellent communicator there. So that's the thing I really, really like about him. You know, some players don't give you much. Some players, it's just not their personality. Everyone's got a unique personality, right? Jeremiah has got a good personality, but it's a better personality because of how informative he is, because of how dialed in and clued in he is to absolutely everything that's going on. So much that people were asking him questions about the backup quarterbacks, about the running back room, and he's getting into specifics with everything. Mm-hmm. And I love that about him. So if he doesn't get into our business and ends up being an analyst someday, he'll be a coach. Maybe we're interviewing him as a coordinator in 10 years, and that'll be pretty fun too. I think he's got the full football mind, the full package, and he's got a pretty good football body to go with it because he can make plays, he could cover, he could stuff runs at the line, he could chase guys down. He as a college player, he's the full package.
You've obviously been, doing this in sports journalism and been a sports writer for about 25 years, a little over 25 years now. But have you covered anybody in your past that talks the way Gemmel does? And is there anybody that kind of rings out in your mind going back that just has that football knowledge and can not only has it, but can talk to the media comfortably and make it make sense? Have you ever covered a guy like that?
He's unique. Mm-hmm. He's unique for sure, especially since he openly talked about how he would like to be a coach. Although I thought it was interesting that Max said they haven't had that conversation yet.
Yeah, I thought that was too. Mm-hmm.
But I, like, for example, to sidebar into another sport, when Wes Miller transferred to North Carolina after 1 year at James Madison, one of the reasons he did that was he talked to Roy about learning how to be a coach. And that's one of the things that process began the minute he transferred to North Carolina. So they already had those discussions while he was in school. To go back into the Jeremiah Gemmel and football part of this, they haven't. Now that might be maybe because we asked Mac about it, we talked to Jeremiah about it. Maybe now that the off season is here, the full off season, maybe those are conversations that they have. I would think Jay Bateman might be someone that's had a comment. We haven't had a chance to ask him yet about it, but I would think that when he sits down and goes over film with Jeremiah, that he sees, wow, this guy might be a coordinator someday, might even be a head coach, who knows? But as far as guys that I've covered in the past, yeah, there have been some linebackers. I'm not sure I want to compare them to anybody because I don't think anybody I've ever covered breaks it down so simplistically and clearly, yet using the football language the way Jeremiah does. Mm-hmm. When I covered hockey, and I've told you about this before, one of my challenges when I first started covering the Hurricanes, especially when it was a lot, when I was with Fox, I was around the Hurricanes for 30 some odd games a year and 15, 20 practices at least. And I really had to learn the language of the sport better than I knew it because I didn't play hockey growing up. I played the other sports, but didn't play hockey. So one of the things I did was I listened a lot and I finally started understanding language because if you're covering a team and guys say a couple of things that are in the sport lingo, you've got to be able to take that and relay that to your reader. With Jeremiah, he does it in a way that's so easy. Yeah, I look it up and then I explain it. In fact, I wrote something about him after we did that interview with him late in spring practice. And I actually went in and put the terminology of something that he described, the actual textbook terminology. And I love that. But I've never really had a guy on defense that went that far into it as much as Jeremiah. He's very unique and he's an absolute pleasure to cover.
Last thing real quick before we wrap this one up. Obviously, with Chaz Surratt gone, Gemmel's kind of always been that leader, even though playing alongside Chaz for the past couple of seasons. But with Eugene Asante in there now, with just, it's an experienced defense overall, but there's still a lot of young guys in there. You only really got Tyrone Hopper and Tamon Fox that have played a ton of snaps in their time at Carolina, close to, the amount of reps that Jeremiah Gemmel has gotten his time at Carolina. But do you see his role changing at all now that Surratt's gone, or is it just kind of same old, keep plugging away if you're Jeremiah Gemmel?
Just be better at what he's done. Mm-hmm. I think that's the mission. And also to help out Asante. And Eugene has told us that it's vital for him to have Jeremiah out there because he listens to every word like we do. He listens to every word. And he's constantly learning from him. Jeremiah's great in the film room, so he learns from him there. But also, it's the confidence that Jeremiah gives him, the attaboys, that you did a good job. And when you have a guy who knows, everyone knows somebody who's like super smart. Mm-hmm. And when the super smart person that seems to know everything gives you reaffirmation on something, that feels good. Yeah. So when Jeremiah, his words of encouragement, his attaboys carry a lot of weight. So, the way that he and Eugene talked about Eugene's performance in the Orange Bowl, 10 tackles and 63 snaps, he gained a lot of confidence because of the things that Jeremiah said to him about his performance. And that's going to be something that he'll lean on this year early. And I think once they get a couple of games into it, Eugene's going to just be totally on his own. The communication with Jeremiah will be vital. The breaking down film the week of a game and just discussing the opponents and tendencies will be vital. But Eugene will be able to kind of do his own thing. But having a guy like that out there is going to make you better.
Yeah.
Because if you miss something in film room, Jeremiah's not going to miss it. So he's going to make Eugene better. And when it's Kadri in there and when it's Cedric Gray or even Ra-Ra or Power, it's going to make all those guys better because they're going to pick his brain and they're not going to miss a beat because Jeremiah's not going to miss a beat.
Definitely. And I'm glad you mentioned Ra-Ra and Power. Guys like that are coming in as true freshmen in that position. I mean, couldn't really ask for a better mentor and guy to learn from when it comes to playing the linebacker position, not only from what he does on the field and not only from what he is as a leader, but what he does off the field in the film room. I'm sure he's a big guy off the field.
There's a standard.
Yeah.
There's a Jeremiah Gemmel standard that those guys are learning, are going to have to live with and embrace.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah's not going to let him get away with not embracing it. Yeah. I think Jeremiah made Chaz better.
I think so
Chaz said he learned. Studying film with Jeremiah made Chaz speed up his development. He went from quarterback to all ACC overnight. He's a great he had amazing talent. He's a great football player, could do so many things, but he learned a lot from Jeremiah. Mm-hmm. Studying, preparing, just listening to Jeremiah made Chaz better. Jeremiah makes everybody better on defense. And don't judge him just by his stats.
Yeah, no.
Don't judge him by the PFF ratings, which aren't totally accurate. Judge Jeremiah by what his teammates say about him and what his coaches say about him. And he gets very, very high praise on a regular basis.
Definitely. Good stuff, AJ. I think it's a good place to wrap this one up. 5th episode of our Carolina Football ISO series. Go check out the other ones. Just click on our YouTube channel below. You'll see a playlist on there where you can go watch those and obviously stay tuned for the ones we continue to roll out over the next couple weeks. Also, guys, head on over to our website. Click the description below. You'll see a link. $8.33 a month. You get access to our premium boards, premium content. I'm not going to go into it because I know you guys have heard it before, but definitely take advantage and head over there and join our community. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks.